The morning sun filtered through the massive windows of the Good Morning America studio in New York City, casting a warm glow on the set where Michael Strahan, the charismatic former NFL star turned television host, sat poised in his chair, ready to welcome one of Hollywood's most revered icons, Denzel Washington. The audience buzzed with anticipation, their applause thundering as Denzel strode onto the stage, his signature confident smile lighting up the room. He was there to promote his latest film, a gripping drama about justice and redemption. But little did anyone know that this interview would devolve into something far more dramatic than any script he had ever performed. Strahan, known for his affable demeanor and probing questions, started off light, asking about Denzel's preparation for the role, how he drew from personal experiences to embody the complex character. Denzel responded thoughtfully, sharing anecdotes from his early days in theater, emphasizing the importance of authenticity in acting. The conversation flowed smoothly at first, with Strahan nodding enthusiastically, the chemistry seemingly perfect for morning television. But as the segment progressed, Strahan veered into more personal territory, inquiring about Denzel's views on current social issues, particularly the ongoing debates around race and equality in America. Denzel, ever the eloquent speaker, delved into his perspectives, drawing from his own life and the roles that had shaped his career, like his Oscar-winning performance in Training Day. The audience hung on every word, but a subtle shift occurred when Strahan pressed further, questioning whether Denzel's activism was genuine or just a Hollywood facade. This line of questioning caught Denzel off guard, his expression hardening slightly, though he maintained his composure. Strahan, perhaps sensing the tension, tried to lighten the mood with a joke about football versus acting, but it fell flat. The cameras captured every nuance, the producers in the control room exchanging glances as the energy in the studio began to thicken. Viewers at home sipped their coffee, unaware that they were witnessing the prelude to a showdown that would dominate headlines for days. Denzel's responses grew shorter, his tone sharper, as he defended his integrity, recounting the countless hours he had spent mentoring young actors and supporting community initiatives. Strahan, undeterred, doubled down, suggesting that celebrities like Denzel had a responsibility to do more, implying a disconnect between his on-screen heroism and real-life actions. The exchange escalated gradually, with Denzel leaning forward, his voice rising just a notch, emphasizing that he wasn't there to be interrogated but to discuss his work. The co-hosts, Robin Roberts and George Stephanopoulos, watched from the sidelines, their smiles fading as the atmosphere turned charged. Backstage, publicists fidgeted, phones buzzing with incoming messages from agents. This was no ordinary interview. It was morphing into a confrontation that exposed the raw underbelly of celebrity interviews, where boundaries are often pushed for ratings. As the segment hit its midpoint, Denzel paused, taking a deep breath, his eyes locking onto Strahan's, a silent challenge hanging in the air. The studio audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats, the usual cheerful vibe replaced by an uneasy silence punctuated only by the hum of the lights overhead. Strahan, realizing he might have crossed a line, attempted to steer back to the film, but Denzel wasn't having it, his frustration bubbling to the surface in a way rarely seen from the composed actor. This moment, frozen in time by the rolling cameras, would later be dissected on social media, with fans debating who was at fault. But in that instant, it was clear, the interview had taken an irreversible turn toward conflict. Building on the initial tension, Michael Strahan leaned back in his chair, his broad smile attempting to mask the growing discomfort, as he posed another question to Denzel Washington about the intersection of entertainment and politics. Denzel, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit, crossed his legs and responded with measured words, explaining how his roles often mirrored societal struggles, citing films like Malcolm X and The Hurricane as examples of art imitating life. The discussion deepened, with Strahan sharing his own experiences as a black man in sports and media, trying to find common ground. For a brief moment, it seemed like they might connect on a personal level, the audience applauding a shared laugh over a light-hearted story from Strahan's football days. However, the harmony was short-lived when Strahan brought up recent controversies in Hollywood, subtly implying that Denzel's silence on certain issues spoke volumes. Denzel's brow furrowed, his voice gaining an edge as he countered that his actions spoke louder than words, listing charities and foundations he supported quietly without seeking publicity. The back and forth intensified, with Strahan pressing for specifics, his journalistic instincts kicking in, perhaps too aggressively for a promotional segment. Denzel, known for his privacy, pushed back, questioning why the focus wasn't on the film that brought him there. The co-hosts interjected occasionally, trying to diffuse the situation with complimentary remarks about Denzel's illustrious career, but the damage was underway. Cameras zoomed in on their faces, capturing the subtle shifts in body language. Denzel's clenched jaw, Strahan's forced grin. Behind the scenes, the director signaled for a commercial break, but the momentum carried them forward. Viewers at home tweeted furiously, some siding with Denzel for his poise, others praising Strahan for bold questioning. The studio air grew thick, the bright lights feeling harsher as the debate touched on sensitive topics like representation in media and the role of athletes versus actors in social change. Denzel elaborated on his philosophy, quoting mentors and drawing parallels to historical figures, his passion evident in every gesture. Strahan, not backing down, referenced his own transitions from sports to broadcasting, suggesting that adaptability was key, a comment Denzel interpreted as a slight on his longevity in the industry. The exchange turned personal, with Denzel reminding Strahan of the differences in their paths, one forged in the gridiron, the other in the theater. Laughter from the audience dwindled, replaced by murmurs of surprise. Producers scrambled, whispering into earpieces, but the live broadcast marched on. This wasn't just an interview, it was a clash of titans, two accomplished men from different worlds colliding on national television. Denzel's frustration mounted as Strahan circled back to activism, asking if Denzel felt pressured by younger generations to speak out more. Denzel fired back, asserting his right to choose his battles, his voice booming through the studio. The tension peaked when Strahan made a comment about legacy, implying that Denzel's might be tarnished by perceived inaction. Denzel's eyes flashed with anger, his response sharp and direct, defending his contributions without apology. The segment, originally slated for 10 minutes, stretched longer, the clock ticking ominously. Social media exploded with clips being shared in real time. Hashtags like #Denzel vs. Strahan trending worldwide. In that heated moment, the line between professional discourse and personal affront blurred, setting the stage for what would come next. The audience held their breath, sensing the impending storm. As the interview on Good Morning America veered deeper into controversy, Denzel Washington's composure began to crack under Michael Strahan's relentless probing. What started as a discussion on film evolved into a full-blown debate on societal responsibilities, with Strahan challenging Denzel on his approach to mentorship in the black community. Denzel, drawing from his experiences raising his own children and supporting aspiring artists, responded passionately, his words laced with the wisdom of decades in the spotlight. Strahan, leveraging his platform, countered with examples from his post-football career, including his work with youth programs, suggesting a collaborative effort could amplify impact. But Denzel saw it as an accusation of insufficiency, his tone shifting to defensive as he listed accolades not for bragging but to underscore his commitment. The co-hosts, sensing the escalation, tried to pivot to lighter fare, like Denzel's favorite trolls, but the momentum was unstoppable. Audience members whispered among themselves, phones discreetly recording the unfolding drama. Strahan, perhaps emboldened by the live format, pressed on, asking about Denzel's political endorsements, a topic Denzel had historically avoided. Denzel's reply was firm, he voted with his conscience, not for show. The exchange grew heated, voices overlapping, gestures becoming more animated. Cameras captured the intensity, the bright studio lights highlighting the sweat on their brows. Backstage, Denzel's team paced nervously, while GMA staff monitored ratings spiking. Viewers flooded comment sections online, some decrying Strahan's aggressiveness, others applauding his candor. Denzel elaborated on the pressures of fame, how every statement is scrutinized, his frustration evident in his furrowed brow and emphatic hand movements. Strahan nodded, but his follow-up question about Hollywood's hypocrisy ignited the powder keg. Denzel leaned in, his voice rising, "You're sitting here judging me, But what about the network's role? The accusation hung heavy, Strahan defending ABC's diversity efforts. The debate raged, touching on systemic issues, personal accountability, and the media's influence. Robin Roberts interjected with a calming remark, but Denzel waved it off politely, focused on Strahan. The atmosphere crackled with energy, the usual morning cheer replaced by raw authenticity. Producers debated cutting to commercial, but the captivating conflict kept them rolling. Social media buzzed, memes emerging of Denzel's intense stare. Strahan attempted to de-escalate, complimenting Denzel's influence, but Denzel wasn't mollified, questioning the intent behind the questions. The showdown intensified, words flying like sparks, each man standing his ground. Denzel's passion for justice, honed through roles like Reuben Carter, shone through, while Strahan's competitive spirit from the field surfaced. The audience was riveted, applause sporadic and uncertain. This was television gold, but at what cost? As the segment dragged on, Denzel's patience wore thin, his responses curt, signaling the breaking point neared. The climax of the Good Morning America interview arrived swiftly as Michael Strahan's questioning crossed into what Denzel Washington perceived as disrespectful territory. Strahan, in a bid to probe deeper, referenced a past interview where Denzel had discussed family values, tying it to broader cultural critiques. Denzel, feeling ambushed, shot back with a pointed remark about media sensationalism, his voice echoing through the studio. "I'm not here to be your soundbite," he declared, the audience gasping audibly. Strahan, taken aback but professional, tried to clarify his intent, emphasizing respect for Denzel's body of work, but the damage was done. Denzel's face hardened, his eyes narrowing in disbelief. The co-hosts jumped in, George Stephanopoulos suggesting a break, but Denzel shook his head, addressing Strahan directly. "You've got your platform. Use it wisely." The tension was palpable, cameras panning between the two, capturing the standoff. Viewers at home leaned closer to their screens, the live feed trending globally. Backstage chaos ensued, with calls to executives as ratings soared. Denzel elaborated on his disdain for gotcha journalism, recounting instances where words were twisted. Strahan defended his style, citing journalistic integrity, but Denzel countered with examples of biased reporting. The argument escalated, voices raised, gestures emphatic. Robin Roberts attempted mediation, praising both men's achievements, but the focus remained on the duel. Audience members held their breath, some cheering Denzel's candor. Social media erupted, polls debating who won the exchange. Strahan pressed on, asking about Denzel's future projects amid controversy, but Denzel dismissed it. "That's not why I'm here." The showdown reached fever pitch, Denzel's frustration boiling over into a rare display of anger. He stood abruptly, microphone still attached, the studio falling silent. "Enough," he muttered, turning to leave. Strahan rose, extending a hand, but Denzel ignored it, striding offset. The cameras followed, capturing the dramatic exit. Producers scrambled, cutting to commercial amid stunned silence. This moment, etched in broadcast history, sparked immediate backlash and support. Online forums dissected every word, fans rallying behind Denzel for standing up, critics accusing him of overreacting. Strahan's team issued statements, while Denzel's publicist prepared responses. The incident highlighted the fragility of live TV, where egos clash and truths emerge unfiltered. In the immediate aftermath of Denzel Washington's storm off from the Good Morning America set, the studio descended into a whirlwind of confusion and speculation. Michael Strahan, left standing alone, addressed the camera with a composed apology. "We respect Mr. Washington and his contributions." Sometimes discussions get passionate. The co-hosts filled the airtime with transitions to weather segments, but the elephant in the room loomed large. Backstage, Denzel conferred with his entourage, his expression a mix of anger and resolve, declining interviews as he exited the building. Paparazzi swarmed outside, flashes blinding, questions shouted about the clash. Social media platforms lit up, with #Denzel storms off trending #1, videos of the moment going viral within minutes. Commentators analyzed the footage frame by frame, debating the trigger points and implications for both men's careers. Strahan's fans defended his probing style, while Denzel's supporters praised his integrity. News outlets picked up the story, headlines blaring the showdown. ABC issued a statement expressing regret for any discomfort, affirming their admiration for Denzel. Denzel's team released a brief note, emphasizing his commitment to respectful dialogue. Late-night shows prepared monologues, comedians mimicking the exit. The incident sparked broader conversations about interview etiquette, racial dynamics in media, and celebrity vulnerability. Viewers shared personal stories, relating to Denzel's frustration. Strahan appeared reflective in subsequent segments, acknowledging the intensity. Denzel's film promotion shifted, interviews more guarded. The event became a case study in journalism classes, highlighting boundaries. Months later, reflections emerged, with both men possibly reconciling privately. But in that raw moment, it was a testament to authenticity in an often scripted world. Reflecting on the long-term ripple effects of Denzel Washington's heated departure from Good Morning America following his clash with Michael Strahan, the incident reshaped perceptions of morning television and celebrity interactions. Media analysts dissected the event, noting how it exposed the pressures on hosts to deliver compelling content, sometimes at the expense of guest comfort. Denzel's career, already legendary, gained a layer of relatability, fans appreciating his human response to perceived disrespect. Strahan, resilient, continued hosting, using the experience to refine his approach, perhaps leading to more empathetic questioning. Public discourse evolved, with panels discussing the balance between accountability and courtesy. Denzel's subsequent projects saw boosted interest, audiences curious about the man behind the myth. Strahan's book sales spiked, his story of perseverance resonating. The ABC network reviewed protocols, implementing sensitivity training. Social media algorithms amplified similar stories, fostering a culture of viral confrontations. Denzel, in rare comments, emphasized forgiveness, focusing on positive impacts. Strahan echoed similar sentiments, hinting at mutual respect. The showdown became lore, referenced in pop culture, inspiring skits and essays. Ultimately, it underscored the power of words, the fragility of egos, and the enduring appeal of unscripted drama in an era of polished media.